Perfect. Welcome to Texas Power Up. You guys, this is the ninth week of the year. Ninth week of the year already. That's 15% of the year done and 20% of the sales year done. That happened really, really quickly. So right now, I'm going to give you Texas stats, just Texas, our agents that are on here. 85 agents that we have in our network in Texas right now. We have 186 units that are pending. So you guys have 186 properties under contract right this second. This is a new record. You guys have $68 million right now under contract. $68 million under contract. That's a new record. Listing volume. You guys have $45 million worth of listings on the market today in a very fast moving market. Now, this decreased by about 10 million from the last time we talked last month at this time. So what we know is we're selling those listings, but we're not getting them back up on the market, like new listings to come back up on the market. So if we were looking for an area of improvement, obviously it would be around listings, right? A $10 million difference month to month is quite a bit, right? Buyers represented. This is an area we don't have too much trouble with. 231 buyers that we represent right this second. And units closed year to date, you guys, 133 units closed already by you guys. And that is 2.15 homes per day. 2.1 homes sold per day. That is a total of $44.5 million that you guys have already closed. That's the equivalent, you guys, of like an entire year for like a team, and like they would be high-fiving. So you guys did that in 2 months. Really good. I have one announcement for you guys this morning, and it is that we have a new location. Jaime Corona from Houston and his brother Joseph have joined us. I'm going to have them on Texas Power Up and just be able to do a whole interview and get to know them. But what you want to know right now is that you have a Houston referral partner that is BKT, that is Place, that runs our plays and our systems and our listing presentation, our buyer consultation, right? So I'm excited about that. And then let me just tell you guys one really cool thing. They were already successful before they got here. Who can guess how many leads they brought with them on day one? You know, because our standard is like 200 sphere. Any guesses? 3,000, almost 3,000 leads were brought with them. So they were already very successful. So when you send your referrals to Jaime and Joseph, you know that they're going to get top of the line service. These guys aren't brand new trying to work it out. Even if they were, we welcome them with open arms. But these guys have like your interest is their interest. So I just want to make sure you guys know that there is a new Houston partner in town. And I want to, number one, I want either Joseph or Jaime, one of you guys, pop your contact information in the chat box. So that way everybody can plug it into their phone so that they have you in their phone for when they have referrals for you. And then number two, I want to thank Natalie. Natalie is the one, Natalie from Dallas. She connected us. And so we wouldn't be in business right now with them and announcing this thing if it wasn't for Natalie connecting. And it's also to the testament of like this entire group right here. Like you guys are doing so well that other people at that level want to join us. So it's really exciting. And we can't wait to have you guys soon so we can get to know you guys even more. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's talk about February stats. So we just finished February. It was the longest short month, right? We had a week of chaos for a lot of people, and we still managed to kick butt. So let me go through a couple ways you guys kicked butt. Let me tell you about kind of brevity and then activities and then results. This is where I would take out a pen and a paper or take notes. And you're never comparing yourself to anybody. So I don't look at this as like a ranking system. If that's how you're looking at it, you're looking at it from like a mindset that is judgmental, and like you don't get to win when you're judgmental, right? Look at it as like, if DJ is rocking at something, be like, man, I want to be like DJ because DJ is rocking it, right? If somebody else is rocking something, like it is there to inspire you versus judge you. Like that's how I always look at everybody that's ahead of me. Like I'm inspired to go do those things. So let's talk about texts that were sent in Brivity, you guys. Texts that were sent in Brivity. I want to give a shout out to the top person in our Texas network. Shelby in Dallas sent 231 texts last month. She is using Brivity like amazing. Runner up, Kyla in San Antonio sent 119 texts in Brivity, and she is using the system to her advantage. Let me tell you about emails. Emails, you guys know you can send emails in Brivity. Well, let me tell you about Elizabeth. Elizabeth and her team over there in Dallas sent 812 emails, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that in a little while. But 812 emails, that was the top person. So you can get a lot done through email in Brivity. We also had a runner-up for that. Veronica in San Antonio sent 66 solid emails through the Brivity system. Let me tell you guys about calls being made, our favorite, right? Best way to convert is to get voice to voice or face to face, right? So Daniel Weiser in Austin, you had 280 calls made in Brivity, in the Brivity system, 280, way to go. And Akash Prakash in Dripping Springs, you weren't that far behind, 178 dials in Brivity, way to go, sir, really awesome. Let me tell you about contacts, just in Brivity, just contacts in Brivity, nowhere else. Contacts in Brivity, I saw that Veronica in San Antonio had 89, and I saw that London in Dripping Springs had 88 last month. So when I think about this and I look at these numbers, just take yours, go back to yours and see like, okay, well, where am I, like, where can I improve in using Brivity? And these might be ways you can improve using Brivity. Let's talk about dials. Dials, like prospecting dials, Brivity dials, all the dials. We have some top people that I want to shout out. Aliana in Austin, 4,708 dials last month. 4,708 dials last month. That girl is working. And then runner up, Daniel Weiser, 3,718 dials last month. You're definitely working it, and you are definitely full-time, I can tell. Let's talk about top contacts, right? So that would be through Brivity. It might be like other things that you had just across the board through Mojo and things like that. Top in Texas right now for last month, Akash in Dripping Springs, 294 contacts the entire month, right? So like that guy's probably gonna be on our top agent panel for a few months because of that, right? Runner up was Memo and Yvette, also in Austin, for 274 contacts last month. So definitely not playing around. And then last one I want to shout out is top appointments held. Nothing happens without an appointment, right? If you can't get in front of them, it's really hard to sell to them. So Elizabeth Gassos in Dallas, 10 appointments, 10 appointments. You and your team rocked it out over there. Runner up, Allie in Dallas, 9 appointments. Way to go, lady. Great job, rocking and rolling. So now I have results. Let's talk about results really quick. So where do we started with Austin last time. Let's start with Midland, and then we'll go to Dallas, and then we'll end with Austin. So Midland, top listing agents. Way to go, Selena. She took $530,000 worth of listings. Judy took $437,000 worth of listings. You were top 2 for your area. Top pending, so you got some sales under contract. Check out these numbers. Jordan, 1.6 million. Like that's pretty darn killer. Judy, $1.55 million in pending sales last month. Top closing agents in volume last month for Midland. Got Maria, she had $795,000 closed. And then Judy had $332,000 closed, top 2 for Midland. Let's talk about Dallas. Dallas, top listing agents. We got Daniel Moore and your team over there, $2 million. $2 million listed. Give me more of that. I love it. We're down in listings. Thank you so much. Allie, $1 million in new listings. Way to go, lady. Top in the charts again. Top pending agents. So sales that went pending, you guys, listen up. Daniel Moore and his team over there, $5.7 million in new pendings. That is a record. I love it. Everybody write that number down. That's the number to beat, 5.7. And then we've got DJ, $2.9 million in new volume, you guys. $2.9 million. That's like, okay, that's most people's entire year. So let's just put it in perspective. That's awesome. Let's talk about closing agents in volume only. We got Samantha Morel at 1.4 million that she closed, and we've got Jen Velarde at 993,000 that she closed. So rocking and rolling. I'm going to take Austin, San Antonio, Dripping Springs, Houston all in one bucket. And top listing agents, you got Maria and Ashley at 1.3 million. You got Andrea at 949,000 in new listings. We got some top pending agents. You got Maria and Ashley at 2.9 pending last month. And then you've got Casey Carlson, 1.3 million. You got a full-time job and you've got some stuff under contract. Way to go, bud. $1.3 million. And then top closing agents in volume, Maria and Ashley at 1.5, and then Akash, who just started November of last year. Akash, 1.4 million. Way to go, bud. And then I loved something Natalie said. She said, why don't we shout out the top 20% earners? And I want to shout that out because these people earned between $10,000 and $25,000 last month, like net income, you guys, net income, not like gross, net. And we've got Jen Velarde, we've got Elizabeth Gassos, got Maria and Ashley, Alicia Stump, Andrea Atkins, Akash, and Maria Farraco from Midland, all earned between $10,000 and $25,000 last month alone. So way to go. If it's one of your friends, congratulate them, right? If it's not your friend, you might want to be friends with them. They're good people to be friends with. Like the company you keep is like who you become, right? So like that would be on my hit list, okay? So I'm really excited about those numbers. They were very good numbers. And I think that because of the whole fiasco that happened in Texas, we're going to have lots of deals that push to March. So I think March will be pretty spectacular. I've looked at the numbers and I'm like, oh, there's going to be a lot of movement happening in March. So that's really great because we'll round out the first quarter and we'll round it out strong. And it'll be great. So this morning, we have a couple panelists, but I want to start with Jonathan. So Jonathan, if you want to unmute yourself, if you're new to the team and you don't know who Jonathan is, number one, I want you to be introduced to Jonathan. But if you're not newer and you know exactly who Jonathan is, he is our BKCO mortgage like top gun in Texas. And he's going to share a little bit of what's happening in the mortgage world and give us some updates on BKCO mortgage. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you so much. And really happy to see all you, like a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces. So it's always fun to jump on these calls. So thanks for having me here. As you can imagine, I mean, 3 weeks ago, we were at 2.75 and here we are like a half a point higher now. It's wild, right? So as you can imagine, there's a lot of driving influences that influence that. But think of it this way. It's very much so like the stock market, and it deals a lot with speculation. So economic recovery with the vaccination coming out, that's people getting back to work. Typically, if we have a good booming economy, rates tend to be a little bit higher. Inflation fears is another thing that's kind of driving up rates, where mortgage-backed securities, just the demand's not quite there as much as it would be in the past. So that's something that, really those two things are pretty significant as far as rates just kind of being where they're at. I think what you need to tell your clients though is, look, yes, we're volatile right now. I mean, we're seeing changes 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. But the good news is I think it's going to level out here. I don't think we're going to be in that 2.75 range, but I think the Fed's going to continue to buy down securities, both short-term, long-term. And I think we're going to be kind of stabilized at that probably low 3 mark, maybe 3.25, 3.125, 3% on a 30-year typical conventional. FHA seems to be a little bit better. VA seems to be a little bit better, but still we're not just quite at that luxurious 2.625 anymore. So
Okay, so what I heard is a really good economy and a good outlook in the economy, and maybe some concerns around inflation always leads to higher rates. But yet, by comparison, like if we looked at 2 years ago, are these high rates?
absolutely not. I
These are
remember,
great rates, right?
yeah. So when Sarissa helped me buy my house, what, 5 years ago, I was at a 4.5, which was stellar. I refinanced a year and a half later, and it was still an upper 3. So we're still historically low, guys. You definitely need to like relay that to your clients. Like, yes, we're not at a 2, but we are still historically low for our rates.
Okay, awesome. I want to make sure that everybody hears that and shares that information, because sometimes when our clients, look online or hear something on the news and they see that, rates are going up, they're like, it gives them an excuse to rent, right? And we know like that with appreciation the way it is, and with rates as low as they are, even though they're not at the like rock bottom historic rates, like this is still the time to make that purchase. It is a smart play, really smart play. Okay, so what's new at BKCO Mortgage? Like, okay, if we had worked with you 6 months ago versus now, like, is everything like harder, easier, more seamless, more issues? Like, how are you feeling with BKCO, and what should we know about working with you?
Yeah, I love this question because some of the folks who I've worked with in the past understood and went through the hardships and growing pains that we, experienced on this side of the spectrum. And really, that was just, hey, we were a new company, freshly licensed in Texas. Can you believe that we're coming up on a year license in Texas?
It's
I think we're
amazing.
come up. I think it's April or May, but the amount of growing that we've done from last summer till now is exponential. We have probably quadrupled our team just on the BKCO side. So I went from one of 5 original OGs, if you will. Now we have about probably 25 people. And on the operations side of things, which was kind of our like bottleneck, we've quadrupled them as well. We actually have our own dedicated, like I have my own dedicated processor. We have our own dedicated underwriters. It's, definitely still a small company. We're not a big box bank, so we definitely have the ability to communicate better, I'd say. We definitely, like in the past when we said 30 days, do not go less than that, but we actually have a little bit of wiggle room there as well. It's definitely, it's going to be a case by case basis. I can't say, oh yeah, 21-day closes all the time, but we're definitely, I've been saying 25, 26. It's just going to depend on the clients and how well we prep them, vet them, and how eager they are to get us everything. But yeah, it's a night and day difference, guys. And so if we let the bottom fall out in the past, definitely give us another chance. I think you'll notice a huge stark difference there in experience.
It's, what it reminds me of, for all of you guys who have kids, right? Your first baby, like, man, I took my kid to the chiropractor the other day, and like apparently she was dropped a few times as a baby. I don't know, but I had babysitters, right? And so she's all messed up, And then my second kid has nothing wrong with him. He's like perfect. His spine is perfect, everything. And the chiropractor is like, wow, we brought the A team of babysitters in, the second time around. And like, that's how like BKCO Mortgage, when it was brand new, we were like dropping things, I mean, like it was just new. You're like, the whole thing was new. But now like, this is our second chance. So if you gave BKCO Mortgage a chance before and it didn't go as planned, perhaps, this is the time. Like, this is the second baby. This baby is it's not perfect, but it's close to it. So let's give that baby a second chance, because it's no lender fees, no processing fees, no underwriting fees, plus $1,000 credit, plus those good rates. And like, look at that, like that baby face is waiting to help your clients. Tell me, do you have any Spanish loan officers, bilingual?
Yeah, I do. I have Marcos Ferreira. Believe he's on the call as well. So I actually have 2 Texas LOs right now, aside from me, so 3 total. Okay. I have 1 in the works. He's my production assistant. Y'all probably dealt with Jay Bird. He's an amazing guy to deal with. Okay. He's taking his test right now to become an LO as well. And I also there's speculation of another hire in the Austin area, which would be fantastic. Because look, the more L's we have, it's just going to expand our operations team and continue that growth. So yeah, definitely. But back to your question, Spanish speaking. Yeah, Marco is Spanish speaking LO, and so happy to help out with y'all's clients.
I love it. Anything else you want to share today? And at the end, can you pop in your contact information, Marco's contact information, maybe anything that we should know about, like how we can make the experience better for our clients, or anything that you want to share to wrap up?
Yeah, I don't know if you're able to get that first time
Yes.
buyers.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Let me share it. Hold on, you guys. I got something to share. I'm going to share it. I'm going to send it all to you guys. But while Jonathan's talking, let me ignore anything on my screen. I have no idea what's about to pop up. Okay. Nothing too scary, I don't think. Hold on. There we go. Hey. Okay. Here we go. Let me show you this. So check it
This
out,
is
guys.
amazing right here, guys. Really what leads to a clean, smooth closing is really, well, first off, vetting your borrowers or your clients, and then really setting the expectations on the front end. And this is a great guide, guys. And so I know Adeline's going to send it to you, but you could also go to bkcomortgage.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and you'll see a link that says Agent Resources. And from here, this really, I mean, it really sets the precedence of what you need to have, like what conversations you need to have, what major milestones there are, what things to avoid, which, these are big things that can definitely delay a closing, and it's yeah, not great. So, but this really kind of gives a full just billboard picture, if you will, about really the process, what we have to offer, what we can, not just aside from our value proposition. This just adds to that because you're educating your buyers and your clients. So I think this is a great tool.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to send this out. You can also get it yourself on their website. The way I would use this, and I'm sure you guys have already thought of it, this obviously goes to all your clients. I would print these and probably have them over at my open houses, but also social media. Like you just grab a little piece of it and like have a piece on that day, and the next day talk about a different piece, mortgage milestones, types of mortgages. Awesome. I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. I didn't even know it was there.
That's new. And there's also other stuff that y'all can, again, on their agent resources, you can clip and whatever you want to do with it. So
awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on here this morning, taking time out of all the deals that you got to close and helping us with that. So if you want to pop in all the contact information, boy, we want to save you guys in our phones. You guys are appreciated.
Well, thank you so much for having us, for sure. We appreciate
You got it. You got it. Well, continuing on our panel talk this morning, I want to talk to a few of our top agents from last month, right? And the reason I want to do this is you hear from me and Jordan and Sarissa and Laura all the time, right? Casey, Amanda, Brandon, you guys hear from us all the time. Like, I want you guys to hear from like your peers, from the people that are doing the work in the trenches. And so I've got a couple people that I want to introduce this morning, and they're quickly going to tell you how they were winning in February. So this is the time to like take notes and see what you want to implement. So first up, I've got Teresa. Teresa, are you on the call? You are, ma'am. Can you unmute yourself? Good morning, Miss Teresa.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us, you had a big success story, and I want you to share it with everyone because I love the way you work the system on the value proposition. Tell us what was happening and how you overcame that.
Sure. So I had a client that I'd been showing since July, and we'd put in about 8 contracts. And of course, the market is what the market is, and we weren't winning because they were contingent on selling their house. So along came Homeward. And I knew that was definitely a resource I wanted to put in my tool belt. And I did. And talking with my client, their big objection was the 1.9 convenience fee. So the way I talked to them, I had a come to Jesus meeting telling them that we're not going to get any traction going in as a contingent buyer in this market. And they saw that immediately. And the other thing was, we had already talked about putting their house on the market, and the expectations on showing were so limited because they had huge dogs and she worked from home, that I had told them that was also going to delay selling their house. So that bought it for them. We also discussed the interest rates and how that could go up at any time, and that would make up that. So all of that together, she went with it. So we were able to close in 2 weeks on a house that they found, and able to sell their house in 2 weeks also. Once we started talking about it, it actually sold in a weekend. And what they did is they made up more in their net proceeds by going over asking price and multiple offers. So it was a win-win everywhere.
Okay, so what I heard, Teresa, is you had been shown a buyer since last July, had
Right.
written 8 different offers, was getting nowhere. You
Right.
brought in Homeward, handled their objections, and you got 1 buyer sell, 1 listing sell. And do you have any other pendings from using Homeward right now?
I do. I just had another come to Jesus meeting with another client. Same thing. We put in 3 offers so far. They were contingent, and they weren't ready to put their house on the market either until we had somewhere they could move. And they are now registered with Homeward. We're not a contingent buyer anymore. And I've got another client buy sell also that we're talking about Homeward. So
Okay.
it's a great resource.
Okay, I wanted you guys to hear that from Teresa versus hearing it from me or somebody else. Teresa's getting the 2-for-1 special, you guys. Get your 2-for-1 special. It's out there. That 1.9% convenience fee is nothing in this market right now with what you're able to get them. Way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Teresa.
Yes, ma'am.
You guys, like, I would love everybody to have a win like that in March. Wouldn't that be awesome, right? Okay, well, let me see, who do I want to go to? Alicia, let's go to you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Tell me, what have you been working on in February and how's that working out for you? What do you want to share this morning with our incredible group on here?
A lot of February, it was working on myself, oddly enough. And so all my kind of success, if you will, came from everything I did in the spring, summer, and fall. I was looking back to see, I'm like, what did I close? And there was an expired from 1,000 dial day back in the spring. It was a for sale by owner that I snagged in the fall, a valuation lead from last February, so a year ago. And while all that is still happening, I've got, and I'll be very transparent with everybody, I struggle with anxiety and depression. And when you ride the waves of real estate, that takes an emotional toll on you. And so I think between all the big business happening in January, the stress of having 2 little babies at home, it just kind of got to me. And then Snowvid hit. And it really, like, that whole week, I just wanted to crawl underneath my blankets and not work. But being consistently looking at my business plan and knowing, my family's 100% commission based. Andrew and I are both realtors. So I need to know what is my non-negotiable, what is my survival number to keep the food on the table for my family. And so making sure week after week, if all I did that week was look at that number and push things forward as needed and then go crawl back into bed and work on myself, if that's all I did, then I was winning for that week. And so now that I've pulled myself out of that, now it's go time, because I know I'm probably going to ride a roller coaster, slump in the business unless I start getting on top of those listing appointments again, so that if this does happen in the future, I've got that security. So
I love that. So what I heard was so much of what you closed in February wasn't due to February effort, right?
Oh, no.
It was due to like last year's effort. And I really want everybody to hear that. Aliana could be doing, 4,000 dials and she doesn't see the result today. And it can be very devastating, right? because in business, you don't see the result for months often, right? Sometimes you get lucky, and we love getting lucky. March is the month to get lucky in, right? It's a very lucky month. But if you don't give up hope. Look at Alicia closing deals from like her 1,000 dial day, from like a Brivy valuation from last February, right? And then the other thing that I heard you say really quick was, it's okay to work on yourself. More than okay. You should be working on yourself. Are you seeing anybody? Is that like, are you doing it yourself? Or are you like,
Yeah, oh, heck no. That was a realization I had this morning was, people in this industry, we are self-motivators and we have high expectations for ourselves, but we've also got to give ourselves some grace and find that support. So I've got coaches galore. Andrew and I coach with Debbie. We've got Adelina. I've got Brandon in San Antonio that I'm always on the phone with. But then I did, take a step back and I was like, man, I've got a lot of business coaching. And if I'm going to pour into my business and I'm going to pour into my family, I really need to make sure I'm pouring into myself first. So I did get a therapist for the first time. So we'll see how that goes.
well, I feel like you sound really good. And so whatever you're doing, you're working on yourself and it's working, and you look good, you sound good. And if this is your bottom or close to it, I can't wait to see what the top looks like. Rock on.
Let's go.
Thank you for being so transparent with us and sharing, Alicia.
Yeah.
Akash, you want to jump on next, sir? Let me see. Let me find you on my screen.
Yes.
All right. So Akash, I love that you made the top 20% this month. And the reason I love that is because when did you start?
November 1st.
Of last year.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us your secret. Like, what is it that you're focusing on? Tell us how we can get your results.
Yeah, so when I first started, I didn't know what my strengths were yet in real estate, obviously. So I just figured, why not make what I'm strongest in the first step in our business, being contacts. So from the end of November through mid-January, I was consistently trying to be number 1 or number 2 in contacts on our team, because I figured if I just get as many contacts as possible, it's a mathematical equation, it's going to funnel over to business essentially. Now, after I did that, it was essentially Brivity, Mojo as much as I can, putting all my nurtures in for Mojo that I can, following up with them. And then I noticed that the withdrawn calling list was less touched than the expired. So I just kind of attacked the withdrawns more. And that's how I got both of my listings. And they both went under contract at 690 and 740. So they were pretty high point listings off the withdrawn list that I did get. And then actively working with about 5 buyers at one point with my 2 listings. And then I stupidly just didn't focus on my lead gen time. And I learned that lesson very hard now, obviously, but protect your lead gen time. I was going with one of my buyers took up so much of my time until I had that difficult conversation with her, explaining that this isn't your dream house that we're getting you into, because she only had a $10,000 appraisal gap that she could cover. So I had that difficult conversation explaining, listen, this is your foot into the market. In 2 years, we can sell and get you into your dream house with the equity you built up. And 1 week later, we went under contract with the new builder that we're closing this month on, basically on an inventory house. So having that difficult conversation opened up my lead gen time, because I went from 5 active buyers and now I'm just sitting at 2 active buyers as of today. So I would suggest to everyone that is new, get as many contacts as possible. And I mean Mojo and Brivity contacts. And if they are other contacts, put that in your Brivity and make sure you follow up with them, and circle prospect as much as you can. Because I've added so many nurtures from circle prospecting that I can see hopefully in 6 months to a year is going to pay off because of me following up with them.
I love that. What I heard from you is that focus at the top of the funnel, the focus on the top of the funnel, right? Being those contacts, everything begins and ends with that, right? I love that. And then I do want to say, like, I think, how many nurtures did you add last month, Akash? Like, how many people did you add to your Brivity? Do you remember? Was it 90?
Yeah, I was pretty high up there. I mean, I think I'm averaging at least 10 to 15 because I do 2 circle prospecting days. Like, I can't block off 2 days of my lead gen for solely circle prospecting just to keep adding the nurtures.
Okay. Yeah. you're at, so like if Ben says our standard is 10 contacts added, 10 nurtures added per week to build a business, right? So that's like 40 a month, right? You're definitely doubling that. And I'm really happy for you. Like you're putting in the work, and we know like that top end of the funnel will come out with business. So really happy for you. Thank you for sharing that, Akash.
Thank
Rock
you.
on. We can't wait to have you on again, because I think we will. Jen, talk to us about what's happening in your world. What are you focusing on? What is success looking like for you as of last month?
You guys ready to hear this? It's
Ready.
not what you want. Brevity. My fortune is in my follow-up. My follow-up is part of my time block. I am honoring my time block. It takes a long time to sit with your thoughts and come up with a time block. And I feel like time block is such a generic term, but like Alicia, I do struggle with depression and anxiety at a very high level. And so I had to find out what makes me tick. What days are my good days? What days are bad days? Mondays and Tuesdays, I front load everything. So knowing your numbers is key. If you know, my goal is 100K. I'm entering my second year in real estate. I made 87 my first year. So my goal is at least 100. So I have to have 6 appointments a month. On Monday and Tuesday, those are my days that I am hitting the phones hard. I am trying my hardest to get my 1 to 2 appointments in that time. Wednesdays are hump days for me. I have to reevaluate. Sometimes I go really hard on Monday and Tuesday to the point on Wednesday, I'm exhausted. My nerves start to kick in. I do struggle with fibromyalgia also. So Wednesdays are kind of my flex days, lead follow-up. So I set my brevity as such. So if I know that I'm not going to do jack on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday when it comes to lead generating or follow-up, then I'm only setting my task to follow up with people on Monday and Tuesday. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, my tasks are probably about 30 to 50 as far as phone calls, unqualified, stuff like that. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with all the calls that I make on Monday and Tuesday, I'm finally getting responses, or people are just now getting back to me about Thursday-ish. Sorry, Jen, I didn't reply. Life is happening. So I was finding I was getting really overwhelmed with the calls I was making because they were getting responses. So I had to really time block my time block. I know that I don't know what else to call them, but it's like depression days, making room for yourself, allowing yourself to just feel it, feel the overwhelming instead of pushing through it. I think so much, especially in this business, we glamorize the, hustle and grind and hashtag grind life that I'm not about that life. My son's not about that life either. So it's honoring yourself, honoring what you need and making time for that. Brevity is huge for me. I teach a brevity class every Friday after our power up, and focusing on the 5, your news, your messages. If you're not texting through the system, do it, because your brain is not wired to remember to call these people. So allow the system to be your assistant and your second brain in that aspect. So new, message, last on site, your task, and your past due. Sarissa challenged our Dallas team to do the 12-week year, and every Monday we revisit it. She holds us accountable to it. And it's something as small as just, okay, every day, or my goal is to tackle brevity in those 5 steps, those 5 ways. It's to wake up before 7 o'clock every day. Even if I have to just stay in bed, but it's like Monday and Tuesday, give me Monday and Tuesday, girl. Give me Monday and Tuesday. And then if you have to stay in bed and work from bed, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, fine, but give me Monday, Tuesday. Giving yourself 2 days off, it's okay. Again, let's not glamorize the hustle grind. Your family, your spouse, your children will appreciate you more for it. And then Fred said on our listing deal that he did with us about front loading your goals for the for the first half of the year. I want you to dissect your week that way. So front load your goals at the beginning of the week. Some of you start your week on a Sunday because that's when you're doing your open houses and that's part of your lead gen activity. So that's fine. Pick what day of the week that you work best with. It will be day one for you and front load it. Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays are my go hard days. Everything else, I'm picking up my slack or I'm checking off things that I wasn't able to get done Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Knowing your numbers, dissect it into quarters.
Jen, one thing I want to go back to real quick is when you have like your days where you're like not going as hard or depression days or whatever you want to call it, like, are you completely like zoned out of the team during that time? Are you like not on any power ups? Like, what does that look like? I just want to understand.
Guys, give yourself permission to do things and then tell yourself what to do. So on my 12-week plan, every time, like you have to get up before 7. You have to wake up. We're required to attend Power Up 4 out of the 5 days. That's not a requirement for me. That's absolute. I mean, especially if you deal with depression, you're on this team. Allow this team to be valuable to you. You have to plug in. You have to participate, even when you don't want to. You have to push past the suck. Call yourself out on your own BS. If not, partner with someone on your team that knows your areas of opportunity or your weakness that are going to call and check up on you and be like, hey, I noticed on Power Up you haven't put in your camera on. Hey, I noticed. That's the value. That's the value of this team, that the value brings to me and my team. But don't give yourself excuses, right? There's a bold law that says you can either have results or have excuses, but you can't have both. I know that I struggle with depression at a high level, but that does not give me an excuse to quit. I'm a single mom. I have a 6-year-old that is counting on me at every second. He's looking to me for leadership and how to struggle and manage the chaos and the mess, but still be productive, still be positive, and still be inspiring.
I love that, man. I hope you guys took some notes. I know the chat was blowing up. Jen, there's going to be some things you want to follow up with in there, but yeah, show up, because that solves a whole lot of stuff. Pick up the book, 12-week a year, or what is it? Can you remind us, or somebody put it in chat so that the rest of us know?
Yep, the 12-week year.
Perfect. 12-week year. So if you're interested in that kind of mindset, I want to make sure that you guys get that book. There it is. That's what it looks like. That's what you're looking for. Thank you, Jen. I love it. Thank you. I'll let you respond to all the chatter. Maria, what made you successful? What worked for you, girl?
Hey, good morning. So I would say focusing for when it comes to listings, of course, that should be our main focus right now, especially with the low inventory. It just makes things a lot easier than competing, for those listings with your buyers. So a lot of it is coming from contribution, sharing equity with some past clients, following up with Sphere, of course, doing the prospecting for those listings. When it comes to buyers, really focusing on the hottest buyers, of course, maintaining your pipeline, but we may not have the luxury now to really spend a whole lot of time nurturing and moving those buyers closer to that hot position when we have so many buyers that are looking for homes, and it's taking a good amount of work and effort to get them under contract. So for the nurtures, just doing more mass communication, stuff like that, to make the most of your time when it comes to lead generation, but being realistic that you're having to spend a little more time getting those hot buyers under contract. And then yesterday you had asked about, okay, what would Maria from 3 years ago do?
Well, so let me set that up for everybody.
Yeah.
Maria last year was the #1 place agent nationwide. I just want you guys to understand, like, the numbers there were very high, right? The income earning was very high. So Maria, like, we can't focus on who you are now. I mean, we're very happy to know you, but tell us about Maria 3 years ago. What would you tell the Maria of 3 years ago, or what did Maria of 3 years ago do to get to this point? Like, what did her business need to look like? What did her activities need to look like? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so good question. So I looked back at my numbers from 2017. So at that point, I was a little bit under like right around my 2-year mark, starting out 2017. At that point, so in the year of 2017, I had 28 closings. 9 of those were internet leads, 7 were sign call or like quickly type leads. And, some of the rest of it made up some team leads and referrals, Sphere, past clients, expireds. So the majority of those were actually internet and sign calls. And so on that note, really, of course, building up to that point, having some nurtures in my database from the prior year, but also really focusing hard on those couple of lead gen sources and following up with the internet leads, staying on top of them. Some of those were even listings too. So digging in and asking the right questions to make sure you're not just looking at a buyer lead, looking for homes online, but you're also interested in the rest of their story. Do they have homes? Do they know anyone that has homes? Do they have investments? Asking the right questions for those types of leads as well. And similar thing with sign calls and quickly. So I'd had a couple listings, of course, the year prior. My 2 years before that, they were good, but not nearly to the point of some of these newer people now. It was more like average. I think I closed maybe 19 and 25 my first and second years. So pretty good, but pretty on standard average for what a lot of these newer people are doing now. So nothing crazy. And the couple of listings I did get the year before, really hitting those sign calls hard, nurturing those internet leads, quickly leads, stuff like that to get me the hottest leads possible at that point.
I love that. I love that. And one thing you had mentioned yesterday is, well, the way we get team leads, internet leads, as we call them, right, is by hitting our contact standard, right? Like each of your teams have a standard of like how you get on to be on internet lead rotation, right? And you hit your standards and you get more team leads, and those team leads, when worked, really do turn out really good business. Like it is a big pillar of each of our top agents' business. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Elizabeth, let's wrap up with you. Elizabeth, you have a huge goal, right?
Yes, I want to do.
Like, tell us about how huge your goal is.
Yes, so I chose my goal, which is 70 units. It's not something I need. I actually can sell significantly less and still be able to do everything I want to, still have my assistant hit her goals, all that sort of stuff. But I did, in the last 6 months of 2020, I did 26 transactions. And so I was like, well, if I double that, twice as much time, that's like, in the 50s. And I was like, well, I've already done that. That doesn't seem like too hard. And I like to challenge myself. And, too hard being relative. It was very hard, but I was like, I've already done that once. So I want to push myself. So that's why I just came up with a round number of 70. So that was my goal. And I have been planning out my weeks according to the 12-week year, like Jen said, but very much keeping that number in mind. So I know my numbers very well. So for me, 70, I broke it down to 16 Q1, 21 Q2, 21 Q3, 16 Q4, just because that's normally how the market goes. I only did 9, or I'm going to close 9 most likely in Q1. So that means 7 get moved to Q2. I already have some new construction scheduled, so I have 25 more to go. And just how that breaks down is about 2 to 3 a week. So whenever I was talking to my team about it, which is my assistant, and I just got a showing agent, we found out that because of all the successes we've had in the last month, but also the winter storm and all that sort of stuff kind of derailing us, I do not have the pipeline I had a month ago. They're under contract and stuff. And again, with new construction, I have, I think, 9 pending total right now, but only 5 or so in the next 30 days. So I'm not really thinking past Q2 now. So for Q2, I'm very like myopically focused. I'm focused just on this next quarter. So it doesn't really matter what I have pending for Q3 and Q4. I'm just focusing on Q2. And I know that I need to have more hot people, and then those hot people need to be converted to A buyers and active listings. For me, an A buyer is someone that's ready to put an offer in 2 days and move in 30 days. So that's kind of my process. So I know that's really fast. Like I went really fast because we don't have a lot of time left, but I'm just very, very hyper focused on reaching that 70 goal. Even if I'm behind, like I'm still planning for that. I don't want to adjust that goal. And even if, like I said, I don't have the pipeline right now to complete it, my focus is, okay, now I need to get the pipeline to do that.
Well, you were saying if you want to pen 2 to 3 a week, that means you got to have a pipeline of 10 people that are ready to go every week. Because otherwise you're not going to pen 2 to 3. Correct. So you're so clear on what that looks like. You're clear, like I've got to pen 2 to 3 to be able to hit that Q2 goal. So that means I need to have X amount, like 10 people that are active, that are ready to go right now. Like just working it backwards, just working everything backwards. And your number might not be 10. Your number might be 3. Get your 3, find your 3 so you can pen that 1, right? Yeah. I love that. When you say that, it reminds me of Gary saying, think big, act small, right? The success is in hitting that weekly number, right? Yeah. Knowing what your weekly number is to be able to have the monthly number, to have the quarterly number, to have the yearly number.
It's too overwhelming for me to think 70 because every time I say it out loud, I'm like, that's so stupid. That's such a big goal. But whenever I think backwards, it's like I've pended 6. I mean, I think my record was like maybe like 10 in 10 days or something like that. Like I have done it before. Obviously it's like once a year that happens where like everything falls into place and everyone goes under contract at once. But I've done 6 in 2 weeks before. It's like things have, if your activities are, if you're doing the activities, things will fall into place. But yeah, when I think I'm with everybody else with like the winter storm and stuff, I did let that be an excuse for a little while of like, yes, I could be doing things even though I don't have internet, can't go on Brivity. I could have, reached out via text to more people, but instead I took naps and watched TikTok on my phone for 3 days. But also like I knew that the next couple weeks were going to be brutal, and I had, I think, 6 closings in the next 3 weeks. So I had to be a babysitter for those and make sure that those went. And finally yesterday, the last amendment was signed from like a damaged property and stuff. So finally I'm like breathing and I'm like, okay, I can focus back on lead gen. But I did give myself grace in that, my fiduciary duty is to get these clients done. I can't like let those fall. We're in extenuating circumstances. So, I'm giving myself grace for that.
I want to wrap up with, you had the most emails sent in Brivity, 812, if I got the number right. So what did you send? Like, what in the world happened there? Like that 812 emails in 1 month. Tell us about it.
Well, I want to first shout out, she's not on the call because she's on a doctor's appointment, but my assistant Marlene is the one that physically sent them. But that's why you should aspire to get an assistant, because, and thankfully my team was able to act pretty quickly. My team being Natalie, our director of operations. When I had an idea, when all this was happening, I said, can we please get like a 1-page version of our vendor list just for the pertinent vendors for what's going on right now? Plumbers, contractors, things like that. Like just a 1-page thing where we can send it to our team. And Natalie was awesome. I think she did it same day. So I was like, great, Marlene, your goal for the next like 2 days is just send all those emails. And because of how Brivity works and we don't want to be spam and stuff, she literally just does them 50 people at a time. So it takes a long time to do it, but she just made a template, send it off. So it can be a little tedious, but I've got lots of responses back. I mean, it's not resulted in any direct business yet, but a lot of people responded, thank you so much for this. How are you doing? And it just opens up conversation. I just got another email actually this morning from someone I closed about 2 years ago. She's like, hey, thanks for that email you sent a couple weeks ago. I actually have a question. Can you call me, later today? So it just, again, keeps you top of mind, but it was very pertinent and timely information. And we were able to act quickly and literally send it to every email in my database.
I wanted to share that with you guys, not because you guys have never sent an email in Brevity. All you guys on this call have sent an email in Brevity. I'm not worried about you sending an email. What I wanted to get out of it was look for ways, look at opportunities to be timely and purposeful with your communication, right? Like you're going to get a high response rate when it's something like where you can come from value, come from service, right? And Elizabeth found that and she was like, ooh, that is one way I can be of service. Look for ways to be of service. Ways to be of service, guys, right now. Appreciation rates, like what are the appreciation rates in your city? Like that's a good service-oriented type of email, right? Look for ways to be, interest rates went up 0.5 point. What does this mean to you? That's a way of being of service, right? Anybody who has ever bought a home with you, who probably needs to refinance before rates continue to go up, that's a way to be of service to people, right? Find ways to be of service, because those are not sales emails, right? Those are ways for you to serve people. And I wanted everybody to hear that, because Elizabeth, you did really well with that. You and Marlene rocked it. You're perfect. Okay, guys, that wraps us up. Next week, I think we have Casey maybe next week, where he's going to be talking about investment properties and investors, and absolutely anything and everything you should ever know about working with investors and investment properties, and the tools that you need for that, and just like being smart and sounding smart when you're working with these guys and these gals over there. So excited about that. I will see you next week. Have a good rest of your day, you guys. Knock it out of the park, and I'll see you on the Chris call tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.